Hey family, it's Dr. Dez here with another episode of the Bowtie Chronicles. We're talking about changing your narrative, changing the way that you view things and the way that people view you, as well as the way that you view yourself. So today we're going to talk about taking your self-inventory. And what is a self-inventory? A self-inventory is simply, it's in the most basic of terms. Self-inventory is all about looking at yourself and admitting to yourself what your past issues are, your fears, your failures, your successes. And when you take an inventory of yourself, one of the most important things that you can do for yourself is be honest with yourself. If you have a problem with managing your own resources, if you spend too much money and you spend too much money, don't play. Just tell yourself the truth. Yes, I spend too much money. In fact, here are a couple of questions that you can ask yourself as part of your self-inventory. What values are most important to you? That's the first question. Another question is, what are your strengths and your weaknesses? Now, when we talk about our strengths and weaknesses, it's important that you are honest with yourself about your strengths and your weaknesses. What kinds of things do you enjoy doing? What have you felt most successful in accomplishing and or doing? And what did you enjoy the most about school, taking classes, and engaging yourself with other individuals? What did you enjoy most about that experience? That's another one for you. Here's another. What has been your best learning experience? What did you do where the absolute most? You benefited from it a great deal. You learned a lot about yourself, and in that experience you've become a better person because, one, you've made the admission to yourself about yourself, right? So this self-inventory is extremely important. Here's a quote for you, one that you can perhaps write it on your on a pad, put it on your refrigerator. And here's a quote: "You can never truly understand or help others, even in your own family, unless you first look thoroughly into your own life and deal with your own sins without compromise, excuses, or evasions," right? And that's by John Broger. So it's a real statement. When you're taking a self-inventory, it's important that you are honest with yourself. You can't help anyone else unless you learn to help yourself. Give yourself the permission to take a deep look at yourself to determine where your strengths or weaknesses are. If you find, or if you hear from other people that there's a particular behavior that you engage in quite often, and we'll talk about those in the upcoming episodes about changing your narrative, things like living in your truth, right? Things like not living in a victim position. But it's important that as part of your inventory, you're honest with yourself. You look at your strengths, your weaknesses, you look at your past experiences and write them down. Write down those things that helped you move forward and helped you to be a progressive individual. Write down those things that continue to hold you back. Sometimes we value the opinions of others more than we should value them. Sometimes we value the opinions of others more than we value our own opinion. It's very difficult for you to change the narrative. It's very difficult for you to do a true self-inventory if you're not willing to be honest with yourself. So as part of your self-inventory, as part of your desire to change your narrative, start with you. Let's be real with ourselves. Let's look at our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats. Look at our past experiences. How do we deal with such experiences? Are we still dealing with issues of grief because of persons that we lost? Family members that we may have lost? Or are we still mourning past relationships? Are you still mourning the loss of a job? Is there something that you could have done to make those things better? When you take your self-inventory, it's important that you write down your responses, because in an emotional crisis, you will fail to recall those things that set you back. Again, in an emotional crisis, you will fail to recall those very things that set you back. Your brain, your mind is a beautiful thing. Sometimes your mind will engage in self-protective behavior, which don't allow you to be honest with yourself about where you've been, what you've done, and how you've handled situations. So you've got to work with yourself. You've got to work with your mind to navigate those challenges so that you can be honest with yourself as you change your narrative. The first step is the self-inventory. If you need any help with looking at yourself, if you need some assistance with being honest with yourself about this inventory, you can reach me at Dr. Daniel at motivatingfactor.org. So if you're interested in getting some more insight into how you can change your narrative, how you can change your personal narrative, and we say that you should start with a self-inventory. If you need assistance in that, please reach out to us. We'd love to help you. Until we meet again, this is Dr. Dez. Be encouraged.